Hello, my name is Leopoldo Armesto, and in this video I will introduce you how to use digital input and output instructions with Facilino, and particularly we are going to focus on exercises for blinking LEDs. So this is the outline of the presentation. I will first introduce the material that we use for these presentations, the work instructions, and then we will move on to the exercises. In particularly, we have 3 exercises for blinking LEDs. So the material, as usual, we use the Wemos D1 R32 together with the Arduino multi-sensor shield. And particularly in this presentation, we will use the push buttons and the LED's potentiometer. Okay. So here we have the instructions that we will work in this presentation. We have some instructions for analog digital reading. We saw these instructions on the previous presentations. These instructions, they allow us to read the value for the potentiometer, but we also have instructions for reading the value of a digital pin, or for setting or writing the value for a digital pin. And we can set it to high or low depending on the instruction provided. And we can indicate the number of pin with the instruction that you see here, and also if it's a special type of pin, we can provide it with the last instruction with the PWM instruction. Additionally, in this presentation, we will see other instructions that we haven't worked yet, like an if instruction, a wait instruction, and then we have a comparison instruction, the mapping instruction, and the min instruction. We will describe them as we see them in the examples. So in this presentation, what we have is just simply the very basic example in which the LEDs, they are switching at a frequency of 1000 milliseconds. So what we're doing is to set in the high value and the low value. So here, as you can see, we're using the right instruction, we're indicating the digital pin, and we're indicating the actual state that we want. Then in this exercise, what we have is the LEDs. They are connected to D12 and D13, and what we have is we're reading the value of the analog input, the potentiometer, and we are mapping this value, and we are waiting an amount of time depending on the red value. So if the value should be between 0 and 4095. So we're mapping this into in milliseconds into 100 milliseconds and 1000 milliseconds, and we are just simply changing the frequency depending on the value of the potentiometer. Then finally, in this example, what we're doing is we are increasing the frequency of the LEDs. They are blinking, so this frequency depends on how many times we push the button, which is connected to D2. So here in particular, what we're seeing is that we are just simply doing a variable. We are creating a variable which is the blink time. It starts with 500 milliseconds, and then what we're doing is waiting that time. But this is a variable, so we can change it. And particularly what we're doing is whenever we push the button, then we read low, and then what we will do is to decrease the value of the blinking time. So we decrease this each time by 50 milliseconds, and we just simply leave a minimum time of 50 milliseconds. So that's why we're using the max instruction here. So we always take the maximum between the subtraction and the constant number 50. And then we set the value, and then we repeat the procedure again. Okay, so in this presentation, I have introduced you how to use instructions for digital input and output with Facilino, particularly some examples for blinking LEDs. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you on my next presentation.